Good day, friends. You're getting a picture of Joe Morton's beautiful wall hanging of New York City. One of my favorite places to be is Times Square there. Was there when I was a young man. We lived there. My dad was a student at Columbia University and taught at Isaac Young Junior High School in New Rochelle. And I remember going to Times Square with them when it wasn't such a nice place to be, but when we were there in 2004, we sang at Carnegie Hall with Mark Morton's high school choir, the EMU choir, and one other group joined us. And Times Square was an interesting place to be, and we saw Broadway shows. Alas, that's not taking place now. But here I am upstairs in Joe's domicile and coming to you on YouTube. Trying to get this adjusted here nicely. I'm reading tonight from a reading tomorrow that will be included in this daily Bible. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's table, at the Lord's feet, listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, why don't you care that my sister has left me to do all the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. And that is a reading from Luke chapter 10, verses 38 and following. Psalm 76, verses 1 and following. In Judah, God is known, his name is great in Israel. His tent is in Salem, his dwelling place in Zion. There he broke the flashing arrows, the shields and the swords, the weapons of war. You are resplendent with light, more majestic than mountains, rich with game. Valiant men lie plundered, they sleep. Their last sleep, no one of their warriors can lift his hands. At your rebuke, O God of Jacob, both horse and chariot lie still. You alone are to be feared. Who can stand before you when you are angry? From heaven you have pronounced judgment, and the land feared and was quiet. When you, O God, rose up to judge, to save all the afflicted of the land, Selah. Surely your wrath against men brings you praise, and the survivors of your wrath are restrained. Make vows to the Lord your God, fulfill them. Let all the neighboring lands bring gifts to the one to be feared. He breaks the spirit of rulers. He is feared by the kings of the earth. And so, moving from lamentation and judgment, we hear the invitation in verse 11. Make vows to the Lord your God, fulfill them. Let all the neighboring lands bring gifts to the one to be feared, and we know that's respected. So the arrogant rulers are broken, as it says in the following verse 12, and the Lord is to be deeply respected. So I love that reading, the first one from Luke chapter 10 in particular. Mary and Martha are at a table with Jesus. Martha's, doing the things that are needed. Martha's a good person. She's serving, doing what's needful. But what Mary is doing is even more needful because she's sitting at the feet of Jesus. So all of us, many of us, have responsibilities. We're running around getting this done, that done, trying to maintain social distance, but we're still responsible, and we're worried about many things. But I think the Lord wants us, as Holy Week begins, Palm Sunday, the day of rejoicing, is in 2 days. God wants us to be reflective in this coming week. He wants us to spend time, to take time. The other thing that occurred to me as I was reading this is how needful it is for us, as Mary was sitting at the feet of Jesus, how needful it is of us to be supportive of the frontline people, whether it's somebody that is serving your takeout food, whether it's somebody at the grocery, or wherever you might go. If there are people who are serving on the front line, and they are maintaining contact, some personal contact with people, we need to thank them. We need to be appreciative. I was in Kroger a little earlier, my favorite one, and just told some of the people that I knew that I was appreciative, and some that I didn't know but knew by face. And I think that's important. I was at a carry-out location, and the woman that works there has been employed there for many, many years, even changing locations when the location changed. And she is a sweet lady, Southern in orientation, calls everybody honey, and it was most hospitable. And I think that, so I was blessed greatly by that. And the Lord has blessed us each in his own way, if we have eyes to see and ears to hear. So as Holy Week approaches, may we find ourselves at the feet of Jesus, letting some of the Martha aspect of our lives go a little bit so that we might be filled and refilled by the presence of God. God's peace and blessings to you each.